Hi, and welcome to the section about the music theory for the ukulele. Today we're going to be talking about pages 1 and 2 for the music code for transposing. So if you want to go ahead and get this paper right now, go ahead and pause the tutorial and get this. It's actually pages 1 and 2 out of 4 pages. Once again, we're going to be going over pages 1 and 2 out of 4 pages for this bunch of papers or documents or file, whatever you have on. Okay, so we'll pause the tutorial, go get your paper, and then we'll get started here in a few seconds. Okay, so in review to the last tutorial, we talked about how music kind of follows a alphabetical pattern, and on page 1 you see how it follows that alphabetical pattern, and every time it repeats after the G. So we talked about every time we come to a G, you're going to repeat the A, and once again that's just the way it is. This happens to be the key of A, but it's also our example to show you and tell you that music follows an alphabetical system. It moves that way. So when you're writing it out, or if you're locating a note or chord, you have to keep in mind that it follows an alphabetical system. Okay? Now, on page 2, over here, page 2. Okay, you see at the top there, it's the same pattern from A to A, actually. Right here, same pattern as this. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it starts with the A again. And this second line below it, basically that's just signifying that the A, which is here, it just comes across and it repeats again. So that's kind of the idea that you want to keep in mind, that in the alphabetical system from A to G, the A has to come up and repeat again, and that's the whole idea why the A follows the G. On the first page, you see a longer version of that. So every time we came to a G, we had to repeat the A. Every time we came to a G, we had to repeat the A. Once again, every time we came to a G, we had to repeat the A. Okay, so in this, just follow along, and I'm kind of going to write this on the board. And this is the same thing that you have on your paper, and by all means, feel free to take notes. So anytime that we're going to a different key, two things you got to keep in mind. Once again, you're going to follow an alphabetical system. Okay, that means it goes like from B, C, D, E, F, G, and every time you come to G, okay, you got to put the A right after that, and then start again. Okay, start again. So we're going to go down, and we're just going to basically talk about different keys. Keep in mind that I'm not talking about the sharps and flats. And we're just getting the basic idea on how the concept works when we talk about different keys, and also relates to transposing that we'll talk about a little later on. So we'll just kind of go down and start doing these different keys, and then maybe you can start to recognize a pattern. So here I'm just going to put B, and we're kind of doing like I'll just call this the key of B. Okay. Once again, this is just a basic idea. Now it has to number one, it has to follow a alphabetical pattern. Okay. So it's B, C, D. You can see that. What comes after D, E. What comes after E, F. What comes after F? Naturally, it's G. And always remember, every time after G, we got to put the A. That's just the way it is. Okay? Then we continue the alphabetical pattern. Okay, what comes after A? Well, B. In the alphabet, B comes after A. Okay, and here we just wrote the key of B. So you can see that it follows an alphabetical pattern, and when you came to G, you repeat the A, and if we start on whatever note it is, for instance, we started on D, we're going to end on B. Okay, so now I'm going to write the next key, and I'll try to write it under the letters so this establishes an easier pattern to see. We're going to do the key of C over here. Okay, key of C. So I think you can kind of start to figure this out by yourself already. So two things, we're going to follow an alphabetical system. Number two, every time we come to G, we gotta write an A, because that's just the way it is. And as we continue to come back to the same letter of C, which we started at, we're going to continue our alphabetical system. So what comes after C? We got D. What comes after D? We got E. What comes after E? F. Once again, we're in the key of C. What comes after F? We've got G. And every time we have a G, what comes after that is always going to be an A, because that's just the way it is. Then we start the alphabetical system again. What comes after A? Well, it's going to be a B. In the alphabet, B comes after A. And then we started with a C over here. Started with a C. We're going to end with a C. And this is the key of C. Okay? You can kind of start to see the letters forming up here just so it's easier to follow. Next, we're going to try the key of D. Okay? Keep in mind the things that we got to keep in mind for writing it out. One, it's got to follow an alphabetical system. Number two, every time we come to G, what comes next has got to be an A, because that's just the way it is. Then we continue and end with the same letter we started. Okay? So, what comes after D? E. What comes after E? F. G is after F. Okay? Every time we come to G, A will always follow, because that's just the way it is. Then after we continue our alphabetical system, we got A, then we got B, comes after B, C. What comes after C? Well, it's what we started with it. It's D. Okay? So that's the key of D. Now keep in mind, once again, I'm leaving out sharps and flats. So, you know, we'll get, you'll probably learn about that later on if you decide to choose to learn more music theory. But for now, I want you to get the basic idea. Let's see if we can fit one more in here. Key of E. Okay, so once again, two things. Follows an alphabetical system. Every time we come to G, we got to put an A. Okay, because that's just the way it is. So here we go. E. What comes after E? F. What comes after F? G. What comes after G? A, because that's just the way it is. Then we continue following the alphabetical system. What comes after A? B. After B is C. After C is D. After D is E. And that's what we started with. That's the key of E. Can we fit one more? Let's go for it. Let's go try to fit an F. Okay. Sorry about that. key of F. Okay, starting with F, next letter is G. What comes after G? A, because that's just the way it is. Okay, then we continue our alphabetical system. What comes after A, B, C, D, E, and what did we start with? We started with F, so we're going to stop there. Okay? Once again, that's your key of F. Okay, so you got maybe a better understanding on how the music works out. Get a better understanding of theory. Keep in mind, this is just a basic idea of music and how it works. We're missing some sharps and flats in there, but don't worry about that for now. I just want you to understand the two things. That music follows an alphabetical system. Whenever we come to G, it's going to have an A. We're going to have an A again, okay? Because that's just the way it is. Then as we continue upward or downward, it's going to be an alphabetical system. So if it was downward, it'd just be, everything would just be in the reverse. And once again, every time you have an A, you would have a G before it. G, coming after G, we'll have an A after it, okay? So take some notes. If you need to write this down, well, technically you don't really need to write it down because you have your paperwork here that you can just refer to and write your notes on this. But if for some reason you can't find it, back up the tutorial, make some notes, and then try to get a fairly good understanding about this. And then when you're ready to move on to the next lesson for this theory section, we will see you there.